And well, welcome everyone. My name is Jim Barros. You are now participating in the Normal Heights Community Planning Group teleconference meeting for January, the first one of the year. Congratulations for everybody to making it. Little, um, we're going to stick to the agenda primarily. We have a short agenda tonight. I want to remind folks that we are being recorded and potentially this could be made available to the public, so be careful what you say or do on the screen. During the meeting, our business will be performed live while we're here by audio and video. The chat is available especially for visitors and people who want to record their attendance. You can enter your name and, if you wish, contact information like an email or a phone number. We are not, however, using the chat to conduct business. I don't have time to watch it, and so you're welcome to communicate with each other, post anything you'd like within reason, but it's not going to be part of the official record of the meeting. So that'll be what's live. Let's see. I am going to do, almost everybody knows everybody, except we have one or two new people. Let's do an introductions for Ben's benefit of the board members, also for Abby's benefit. So I'll call on the board members and have you introduce yourself and tell us your name and whether you're a resident, homeowner, or renter or business representative to the board. I'll start with Taylor.
Hey everybody, I'm Taylor, resident of Normal Heights and just a regular board member.
That's a good thing. Brian.
My name is Brian. I'm a renter, resident homeowner, or resident renter, and yeah, board member, webmaster.
Webmaster, yes. We're going to talk about that later. Alan Najera.
Hi, I'm Alan. I'm a resident homeowner and board member.
Great. Next up would be, let's see, Greg Stone.
Yeah, I am a resident homeowner and have been on the board for about 6 months.
Great. And let's see, Vicki.
Vicki, resident homeowner and secretary for the board.
And let's see, we have just joining us, Emily, when you get your audio going, would you introduce yourself? Emily Caldwell, introduce yourself when you get your audio turned on.
Hi, thank you. Sorry for the delay. Good evening, everyone. Emily Caldwell, board member and resident in Normal Heights.
Great. I'm not going to try to introduce everybody. I think I've gotten all the board members introduced, as well as myself. I'm a board member, chair, and homeowner, and I have some rental property in Normal Heights. Okay, we're going to hit it off on the agenda. And the first item is agenda setting. Are there items that we need to take out of order, add or delete? If not, we're going to run on the agenda as listed. The times may change, but that's the way it goes. Next would be approval of the minutes as provided by Secretary Vicki. Those of you board members who've received and reviewed the minutes, do you have any questions, corrections, or could I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Ellen makes a motion to approve the minutes as provided. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Taylor is seconding. And your wife appreciates that, Taylor. I'm not going to ask for a roll call vote for this. I'm just going to ask if we have any people who would like to vote against accepting, or to, what is it when you don't, like you weren't here? I think there's abstain or something like that. Hearing none, I'm going to count the minutes as accepted. Thank you, Vicky. Those will be posted both to our website, which we'll talk about later, and to the city to put up on the planning group's website. Next, we have a treasurer's report opportunity. Alan, I don't think there's been any change from the previous. Anything to report?
Nothing to report. No change from the previous.
Great. Moving right along. Next is non-agenda public comment. This is opportunity for anyone to bring forward information, questions, or concerns. I would like you to limit your time to 2 minutes per item, per person, excuse me. And if we can, limit your items to land use issues which may come up for our group. Are there any public comments? By the way, if I can see your video, you're welcome to wave, raise your hand, or you can use the reaction button at the bottom to raise your hand and put you in the queue. I don't see anyone. Whoa, Greg, hi there.
Hey, I just have one question. I don't know if this is the proper form, but has there been discussion ever about the paving of certain alleys in Normal Heights? And is this the proper form for it, I guess is my question, or getting an update if that's, because we have a few alleyways south of Adams that are unpaved. I think around 2 or 3. So I just didn't know, is that something within our like advocacy or potential to discuss, I guess is my question.
Well, it sounds like land use. Does anybody, I don't remember that being brought forward as an issue. It might be something that we would refer to the council office about the responsibility, and if there's a schedule or timeline or what it takes to get something paved. You're hoping that alleys could be paved, I assume.
That's thank you, Jim. That was pretty much my question. Like, is there a plan for it? What's the timeline if there is?
I doubt it. I will, in case Ben wants to raise his hand if he has any information, but otherwise I could forward that as a question to the council office. I don't know offhand. Gary Weber, do you know anything about that?
The city likes to wait for property to redevelop and then have the builder do the alley. They generally don't do the alleys. Paving an alley from one end to the other costs a fortune, and they don't have the money to do it. So they depend on people just taking care of the back end of their own property. And if things get really bad, like in rainstorms, you can notify them and they'll come out and do temporary fixes.
Like a Get It Done? Perhaps use the Get It Done app. I see 2 hands up. I'm going to go to Ben because he's an official paid person and probably knows stuff. Ben, you want to help us out here?
Yeah, no, I was actually going to concur with what Gary had explained. Right now, there is no plan for the repavement of alleyways. It wasn't until early 2021 that alleyways were actually that the council actually included them in items that needed repair. So now that they are part of our infrastructure that is on the books for us to repair, I know that has been a question that has come up through a lot of the communities that I support. So definitely reporting it via Get It Done would be one option. The other option, which I was going to delve into a little later, was the budget process. We're currently in the middle of the budget process, and I think that's a great tool for community members to voice that we do want funds allocated and earmarked for alleyway repavement. So I can drop that info in just a second and kind of go over a little more of that later on. But just wanted to chime in for that quick thing.
So I hope that answers Greg's question, I would put a little onus on Greg. If you could come up with a listing of the locations which you think are appropriate, and perhaps we could at least keep that on record for something we'd like to put forward. Sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you for all the information. It's,
Sure.
appreciate it.
Any other public comments or non-agenda issues to be brought forth? Emily, I see your hand up.
I was just going to say, Greg, for your list, the alleyway between 36th Street and Wilson, that is unpaved. And I know I've seen people on Nextdoor complain about that one before. I know about it just because I'm right there myself, but I'm happy to take a look around the neighborhood and I can email you if I see any others.
It's appreciated. I got
Great.
that one down. Thank you.
And it's an opportunity to remind everybody again about the Get It Done app, which seems to be getting attention of city staff and responses. So we appreciate that. If there are no more public comment, oh, I see Todd Clemens. What you got going, Todd?
Hey, how you guys doing? First time on the committees or joining this meeting, but I've sat on a few others in different regions before. Resident of Normal Heights, live off Holly Boulevard, and we have several, probably in the hundreds, potholes, which I have reported on the Get It Done app, and they will sporadically fill a few of them. I'm wondering how we can push the repavement of Holly Boulevard further or faster. I see Ben Mendoza on the call as well. I'm hoping you have that information. And then a secondary point I have as well, directly in front of, I believe it's 4852 West Mountain View Drive, there is a asphalt section that is slowly sinking into the ground, which I believe is probably on a pipeline. It's about 1.5 foot drop current. So I'm wondering with that as well. I've reported both of these on Get It Done many times. Thank you.
You're welcome. Get It Done is one approach. Complaining or forwarding a complaint to the council office certainly is something they like to respond to, right, Ben?
Yes,
Other
yeah,
than
that's
that-
actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, no, Todd, if you are submitting reports via Get It Done, and you're finding you aren't getting much headway, or the issue isn't being addressed, especially with those potholes, if you could, I'll drop my contact info in the chat, but if you could forward me that Get It Done that you submitted, that way I can follow up directly with the department, just to see kind of why it is that they only filled some of the potholes and not all of them. I just got another email from transportation last week for a similar issue where they didn't address all of the potholes. So happy to follow up on that for you if you just forward me that Get It Done that you submitted. And I definitely want to look into the Holly Boulevard situation. So if you could also send me that, would definitely want to look into that for you.
So that'd be great. I can take some additional photos and send those your way as well. The section that's near Adams Avenue, just to the north on Holly, is getting extremely bad, where there's probably 50 to 100 potholes just in about a 100-foot section right there. It's near the 7-Eleven at Holly and Adams.
I can attest that some of the streets in Normal Heights are getting so bad that it affects my routing. I'll go a different route just to avoid the potholes, unless they're being put in as a traffic calming device. No. Okay. Gerald, you're up.
Yeah, just a point of order on the pothole repairs. I put in Get It Done stuff for every pothole in Normal Heights. Actually went around on my bicycle north of Adams, and basically they just closed them down. And when I finally reached out and talked to some of the people at the city, they were saying that most of the stuff has been, they patched little things that they think are hot items, but they're pretty much ignoring everything because they keep on saying that undergrounding is coming and is going to fix everything. But as far as I know, undergrounding is on hold. So someone needs to tell the city street department that it's not coming anytime soon. So Ben, if you could help with that, that would be great.
Okay, so poor Ben at his first meeting has got 13 tasks in front of him. Thank you, Ben. Is that it for public comment, non-agenda comment? Going once, twice, three times. Let me remind you that the chat's available for sharing information among yourselves and us, but it's not part of the meeting. Those of you like Todd who are visiting and would like to have a record of your attendance, if you put your name in there, then our secretary will keep track of that and we'll know you attended. We have two action items to get to. The first one is whether we should have a teleconference meeting at our February meeting or whether we should go live. As far as I know, the governor's office is probably going to continue to allow the Brown Act provision that allows our meetings to continue to be teleconferenced. But in order to do that, we need to specifically make a decision about whether we teleconference in February or we meet at the Adams Normal Heights Community Center. So do we have a motion one way or another?
Make a motion that we continue to meet teleconference for our February meeting.
Okay, Greg's, and we have a second from Paul, is that correct?
Yes, I'll second.
Motion and a second. I don't think I need to do a roll call on this. Is there anyone that would object to our meeting via teleconference in February? Hearing none, we'll continue to huddle in our homes instead of going out in the cold. Next question. Let's see. Oh, thank you is appropriate to provide to Brian and Paul, who have set up a website for the Normal Heights Community Planning Group. I included the address for that website in the agenda. And since then, Paul and Brian and I worked some on adding content. And what in front of you, or actually before us, is for those of you who visited the site to provide any comments and or any suggestions about additions. So far, we plan to include the approved minutes of past meetings. I'm not sure how far back we'll go at this point. Agendas of upcoming meetings, selected correspondence where we have sent complaints or requests or thank yous as a body. I added for a hot topics, and perhaps we would list some of those hot topics. For instance, the potential construction of the 7-story building on the grounds of Delia's Pizza plant. Brian or Paul, would you like to give us any information about it and what you think we're going to be doing in the future? I'll call on Brian because his name starts with a B, you know. Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, so I think the website's going to be a really cool place for us to be able to like centralize where all these documents go. I think it's going to be a really good place for us to be able to post official correspondence. Thank you, Jim, for putting all that latest stuff up there. That it's just really cool to see. It's also really cool for us to be able to like give people like concise links to these things instead of like emailing around stuff constantly. And I'm hoping that this can kind of be a centralized place where we can contribute the meetings and the agendas and just be more open to the public and more responsive. I know that we've gotten some positive feedback from people at large, including some other planning groups. So that was pretty cool. And I am managing a lot of the WordPress stuff. Paul is also on there. Feel free to email either the webmaster account or email us directly for changes or suggestions. I'm not sure if we have to do like official decisions for small changes or things like that, but And definitely, if you feel like there's always information where, like, communicating with the public on like what we do exactly and what our responsibilities are, and if there's any room for clarification or better outreach, this is, I think, the place to do that. So if you guys want to have something up here to tell people about it, definitely. I know, Jim, we did want to talk about at some point getting board member information on there, and that can cycle through as new elections come through. I think that'd be good. I'm not sure exactly what you had on exactly what we wanted to put there, but that was kind of I'm really excited for this, and I think in a short while we've actually gone from having no web presence to having one of the best that I've seen of city planning groups. So I think onward and upward.
A quick response on my part. I put in the website the names of all the board members, but not any contact information necessarily. If you'd like, and perhaps that would be a decision we want to make. Do you want to add phone numbers, emails, home address, next of kin? What kind of information you'd like to have in there? And also, if you visit the website, Brian, tell us where that image came from, the front page picture.
So that front page image of Normal Heights on Adams was taken by my roommate, actually. He's a photographer, and he waited until 4:30 in the morning to go and take that picture. And the fun, I'll plug a little other thing. The color scheme of the site, the blue is the sign blue, and the red is the Adams Avenue red brick, the Lestat's Coffee House red brick. So it's very themed to the neighborhood.
Very nice. Before I get to you, Greg, Paul, did you have something to add, please?
Sure. For those board members who are hesitant to put their email address on there, we can create an alias email address that would be whatever name you want at normalheightscpg.org. And then that would forward to whatever address you currently use. That way you don't have to expose your personal email to the entire web. Kind of helps cut down on spam.
So, Paul, could you walk us through that? I would like the whole board to be available for people to complain to them. I mean, thank them for their service, but protecting their email addresses. So,
sure. Well, like for instance, I would have an address that would be vice chair at normalheightscpg.org. And I would have that forwarded to my ideabuzz@gmail.com that I use for every day. And then if I get spam from that from the website, I just ignore it, filter it, delete it. If I get something interesting, I'll respond, and it'll come from my own personal email. But at least then I'm making that effort to make a personal contact with my personal email.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. We'll deal with that after we hear from Greg and Vicky. Greg, you had your hand up?
Yeah, it was just somewhat of a related topic, like at the bottom there. And yeah, by the way, Brian and Paul, it looks really, really good. Thank you for your effort. It's a really slick site and has I can tell it's going to be very robust and good for information. So I'll start with that because it's really good. My question is in terms of the contact information at the bottom, which I think is a standard WordPress thing. There's an email, phone number. If I'm just thinking about who that would go to, I assume that would go to potentially, like what would that, mainly about email, like if we got stuff through there, who would that go to and who would be responsible for that? And then my other comment on email is just, it might make sense to just limit the emails to the board members with positions like the secretary, treasurer, vice president, president, which I think was what the plan was, but just making sure that was the plan.
That's a good idea, Greg. As to his first question about the address at the base, I don't see it.
I show it as like a white banner across, and it has the address on Holly, and then a phone, and then an email, unless I'm.
Yeah, no, it's at the very bottom, 4649 Holly, and then there's a there is a link that says email, but it's not hooked up yet. It just says info@yourwebsite.com. So we would change that to maybe an info address, but the question you have, of course, is who receives the email. And I think to your point, we could have that go to chair, vice chair, and secretary.
Sounds good. Okay, I think Vicky was next, and then Ellen.
Hey, yeah, first, again, it looks amazing. I think it exceeded all our expectations. As far as the emails coming into like the board with the vice chair, chair, and secretary, I'm just wondering how we will delegate responding to those. I don't expect there to be a ton of them, but just in case we do, like if something like the Mars project comes up again, I can imagine 100 people all emailing that email address. And I just wonder how we would manage that. Not that we're there yet. I understand we're in development. And then I'm not trying to nitpick or anything, but as far as the homepage goes, it looks great, but the line goes right through the Normal Heights sign. And I was just wondering if.
Oh, you mean the white Normal Heights is right over the Normal Heights sign?
Yeah, and then the line underneath kind of goes through it.
Yeah. It does depend on what device you're viewing it on. Because it does scale the image differently depending on how you're looking at it. That is one kind of complication. I'll look for some ways to fix that.
I'm using a very cheap, not good laptop, so that could probably be why.
Yeah, we're going to issue all the board members with new apples, so that'll not be a problem.
You of course mean green apples.
Thank you, Vicky. Alan, you have your hand up.
Hey, thanks. It looks great. The one thing that I think would be helpful to have on there would be a copy of the community plan.
Or a link to it. Good plan. I think this, yeah. Here's a kind of an overall thought. One of the reasons to do this is that the city of San Diego has been making a lot of noise about cutting down on the services provided to planning groups. And one of those things was to cut out the minutes and agendas and other information. I hope they never do that, but we sort of anticipated some of the problems. And there's a question about what we provide via the website, whether it actually resides. Of course, I'm a non-computer person, so I know nothing resides anywhere, but whether we provide links to the community planning, the community plan, which is supposed to be on the city's website, that's a good idea, Alan. And let's see. As far as email addresses, how about we start with providing the chairs next to the membership, that we'll have the Normal Heights Community Planning Group chair have an alias where people can route their information and questions, and whoever's chair will deal with that, rather than listing aliases for all the board members. I'd hate for you guys to be lobbied individually. It's supposed to happen in person, not at Vaughn's or via email. I think that would work, unless anybody's got a concern or question.
Sounds like a good plan.
So please check into the website over the next month and give us some feedback about what could be changed or improved. Oh, I'm sorry. One other big deal. Paul and Brian and I have decided, at least currently, that the website will not provide an opportunity for commenting or exchanges from the general public. This is a one-way providing information out, at least at this point. And if people want to interact with us or provide, they would do that through the chair. At least that's my idea at the moment. Okay. All right. Once again, put your hands together for Paul and Brian. Thank you,
Good
guys.
job.
There is a applause button down at the bottom. I don't know if you noticed. Here goes. You ready? I'm clapping my hands.
I see it.
Yeah, pretty amazing, huh? Okay, that's all the action items we had. We have some reports and updates and an introduction. And I didn't get to introduce you before. Remember, we have been moved from District 3 to City Council District 9 with the new council member. And now we have a new representative from that office, Ben. So Ben, would you introduce yourself and tell us what's going on and be prepared for comments and questions.
Thank you so much, Jim, and hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great evening. My name is Ben Mendoza. I am the Digital Communications and Engagement Manager for Council President Sean Elo Rivera here in the District 9 Council office. I'm also the new community representative for Normal Heights. I'm very excited to be here. And I'm also a 10-year resident of the Corridor neighborhood, which is just south of Normal Heights. So not too far from you all, literally across El Cajon Boulevard. So some of the successes and challenges I've heard about in Corridor sometimes spill over into Normal Heights. So I've lived here for about a decade and happy to be serving the community in various capacities at the council office. I'll be dropping my contact info in case anyone needs to get a hold of me. My cell phone is listed there, so if you want to give me a call or shoot me a text, either one of those works. And also be sure to share that info with Jim as well in case he wants to distribute it out to the entire board. So a few updates for you all, and feel free to ask questions along the way or save them for afterwards, whichever works for you. There's a few ways that you can stay updated with the council office and what we're doing. We have a bi-weekly newsletter that goes out, which I help put together for our office. So if you're interested in registering for that and receiving that on a bi-monthly basis, we ask that you please sign up for that. Additionally, we're on a lot of various social media platforms, all of which are linked in the chat right now. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I'm not the youngest person, but I've challenged myself to also get into TikTok. So we're on that as well. Next update, City Council is currently on legislative recess until Friday, January 6th, with the next council meeting happening next Monday, January 9th. So if you want to learn more about various important dates and meetings that are coming up, I'm also going to link the legislative calendar for the city in case there are any other things or meetings you want to check out. And probably the most important update I have for you all, and I mentioned it earlier, is that the Council District 9 office is really looking for your help in setting priorities for the fiscal year 2024 budget. So whether you're a resident or a business owner, worker, or someone, or just anyone with a stake in the success of District 9, the council president really wants to hear from you about what your funding priorities are. And especially from folks from our new neighborhoods, we definitely want to make sure that your voice is heard through this process. So we actually have a budget survey currently open. It does close end of day Friday. So if you do want to let us know kind of what your funding priorities are, please fill out the survey. It's fairly short. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me. Happy to walk you through it. It is available in English and Spanish. I'll post the Spanish link in just a second, but we do want to hear from you. The next budget priority memo for the council members is due next Friday, so January 13th. So it's kind of a tight time crunch. So apologies about having the survey close so soon. There will be more opportunities to engage with the budget process the next few months. And something else I wanted to flag was on our website, we do have information about what the budget process looks like, including our memo that we submitted back in September. So if you want to check that out, definitely check out the link that I just posted. Definitely want to make sure you all are up to speed on kind of what we're working on and what we're focusing on in the office. And okay, just one last one. Okay, this one is just in case you want to get rid of your Christmas trees. There are 17 locations throughout the city that you can get rid of your Christmas trees. So I definitely want to make sure if you have trees you want to get rid of that are not artificial, here is the list of where you can find those throughout the city. So excited to be here. Happy to take any questions.
I see some hands up. I think Margaret was first. Margaret?
Okay, I was muted. Hi, Ben. Thanks. I wanted to ask you what happened with the budget priority survey that we filled out for District 3 a few months ago before we changed districts. Is that getting integrated into your current budget?
We did get a list of budget priorities from the District 3 office, but we don't have access to the actual survey data that that folks filled out. So if it isn't too much trouble, we would definitely love for you all to fill it out again, which I know is kind of a pain, but I want to make sure that y'all's priorities are captured in the event that the priorities that we see maybe are not the same ones that you want to make sure are included.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Greg, you're up.
Yeah, no, thanks for being here, Ben. Look forward to your being here, and working with us in the future. I guess one of my questions was, yes, there's definitely seems to be an element of following the priorities that we indicate in these surveys, but is there anything that Sean is very, viewing as a priority in terms of the budget that affects Normal Heights that may not be like as a result of these surveys? Like, I guess that's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
I mean, secret stuff?
Not secret enough to keep it under wraps, but like, I know it's not all about what we do and we, as citizens do and submit and whatever the poll shows is the highest priority. Like, there's probably some stuff hopefully coming in that he might do, like, oh, I'd really like to do whatever it is. And I guess I'm trying to ask about that.
I know infrastructure just across the board is something that we constantly hear about throughout all our neighborhoods. It was one of the first things that came up in the conversations in this meeting today of whether it be streets, alleyways, sidewalks. Those are things that we constantly hear about from residents. So I know that's something that he is definitely targeting on trying to allocate more funding for. In addition to that, streetlights being another one, we've kept track of the streetlight outages throughout our district since we took office, and it is quite extensive. So we're really trying to whittle down the wait list for the streetlights, so we can put a dent in that. So I would say infrastructure being one thing. I think homelessness and support for reducing homelessness is another huge one that the council president is currently championing, especially with eviction prevention being one of them. One thing that he definitely recognizes is well, there was a study done in Los Angeles where although a certain number of people per day are no longer in homelessness, there's just so many more that also fall into homelessness during that same day. So there is that cycle of folks falling into homelessness. So that's one thing that he's really wanting to prevent, is making sure that folks do have the ability to stay in their homes if they are abiding by all of the laws, so that we can kind of a stop in the number of folks growing and dropping in the homelessness.
Greg, I'm going to move to Gerald and then Paul.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate you coming here and helping us out. Quick question or two comments. One is I looked at the agenda calendar and the links seem to be broken. I was in, for something that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, I was looking at something like the land use committee that's going to be meeting, and there's no information there. It's like showing calendar information from 2022.
Well, where are you searching?
If you click on the link that he provided for that sdd9.info/FY24. Oh, I'm sorry, the calendar. I'm sorry, legislative calendar, SD9 info/2023. It'll take you to the legislative calendar, and you click on the links on the calendar, like the land use committee on the 12th next week, and it brings up a list of events that are all from 2022.
Yes, thank you, Gerald. That's because, let's see, I don't believe the next agenda has been set for 2023, or the agenda for next week hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
So once it is released, it should link to that. And if that is something you're interested in, I can get you more info once it is posted. Typically the agendas are posted at least at the latest 72 hours in advance. Ideally, you all would have access to that before those 72 hours. But yeah, I can make sure that you do get that agenda. But it is linking to the right place. There is no agendas that have been released for next week just yet.
Okay. Another thing is, are there any dates that are coming up to meet with the councilmen in the near future?
Yes, great question. I can double check on when the office hours are for the council president. So every month, the council president holds office hours. Typically, it's the third Friday of every month. I just need to confirm that with our scheduler first. But I can definitely send you that info on the confirmed date for this month. But yeah, there is opportunity to meet with the council president as well.
Okay, I think Greg, you're up.
Sorry, just another question about the budget process. Is it getting specific, which I believe it does, in terms of like the allocation of funds for a particular district or street? Let's just use the infrastructure as an example, or is it just a general bucket that then each council member kind of not fights over, but like, I guess, where does that prioritization come, or is it in the actual line item budget?
So all of the funding comes from what is called the general fund. So it's basically each council district then advocates for their various communities for that pot of money. So say it is for street repairs, there is money overall. There's money earmarked for street repair, and then each of the council offices, as well as the mayor, would then have a say in kind of how that pot of money is allocated, whether that is specifically for certain parts of the city. One thing that the council president has really been advocating for is equity in terms of how the budget is allocated. What we know is that a lot of the communities east of the 805 typically have not received the same level of love that other communities have over the years. So he definitely wants to make sure we get our fair share of the pie when it comes to advocating for the budget. And something that he definitely would love to see from folks is if you all do want to actually go and provide public comment at various budget hearings. I'll be attending these meetings and happy to also flag those for you all if you all want to also give your public comment in terms of how funds should be allocated.
Thank you so much. So this should be finalized in June, if I'm reading this
Correct.
timeline correctly. Okay.
Correct. Yep. So Yes, so the council members will submit their next round of budget priority memos next Friday. Our Office of the Independent Budget Analyst will then compile and review all of those budget memos and look for commonalities. The mayor will then release his proposed budgets by April 15th. And then there are also department budget hearings happening in the beginning of May. So that's when each of the departments then presents on kind of how they would utilize their allocated budget and what for, which is another great opportunity for residents to either advocate for or advocate against whether the certain funding is going to certain places. So those are another opportunity to hear directly from the departments and also give your say on how those departments are utilizing the funding that's allocated for them.
Thanks for all the detail. I appreciate it. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't see any more hands up, so you're off the hook for the moment, Ben. Thank you for
I'm here in case any other questions come up.
Great. Okay, moving along, we have another representative here, this Abby Reuter from the Office of Supervisor Fletcher, and welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Abby Reuter. I am the community representative for the Normal Heights area from the Office of Supervisor Nathan Fletcher. I just have a really quick couple of updates for you all. The first is that Supervisor Fletcher just wrapped up his first term as supervisor. And as we're going into a second term, we have put together some of the crucial ways that the County of San Diego has been changed over the last 4 years and some of the policy wins that the supervisor has championed. If you're interested in watching any of the videos we put together or learning more information, I will drop the link to that website for you all to look at. Additionally, on January 17th, the County of San Diego will be hosting an informational meeting on the Regional Decarbonization Framework, which is the county's framework for how to get to zero carbon emissions. So this was going to be at the Malcolm X Library, again, on January 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. There will also be a virtual component, and I will be getting more information about that link as it gets closer. So feel free to contact me and I can get you that information. And then finally, on December 13th, the Board of Supervisors passed one of Supervisor Fletcher's policies to establish a behavioral health center of excellence in partnership with interfaith communities and Price Philanthropies. So this is a 5-year pilot program that will provide training, education, and licensure to the interfaith community's existing and future behavioral health workforce, which will enable them to fill hard to recruit behavioral health positions and develop a sustainable model for continuing this pilot program beyond the 5-year grant period. It is estimated that there will be 31,000 workers trained at the Center of Excellence in the next 5 years. And this is all part of one of the supervisor's main priorities, which is improving the behavioral health space and especially the workforce. I believe I've spoken before about how there is a real big deficit of behavioral health workers. And so this is one of these programs that we're working on to really increase the pipeline and get more of these positions filled so that we can address the addiction and behavioral health needs of our community. So with that, I'm going to drop my contact information in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll also drop the links to a couple of these things as well.
Thank you, Abby. Do we have any questions? Greg, you're full of questions tonight. Go for it.
I brought my questions tonight. I just a really obviously great job by the supervisor in terms of getting the interfaith and Price Philanthropy collaboration to get that going. It's very needed. I guess I had a question. In our neighborhood, is there any county-owned land? I would assume not, but I just wanted to check on that.
I am actually not sure off the top of my head. I know one of the things that we are working on right now is actually the joint city-county kind of task force that actually Council President Shawnee Rivera's office has partnered with ours on. So there's a complete county-wide look at what all the different government-owned land is that's going on right now, that's being completed by the San Diego Foundation. And so that is being worked on right now, and I do not actually know the results of that review. Ben, if you happen to know, chime in, but I haven't heard it come back yet. So we're right now looking into that. So I actually don't know if there's any county-owned land, but we have properties all over. For example, there's a county probation office in North Park. So there is a lot of government-owned land all over, and right now we're really looking into where that is.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I have sort of a question. I wasn't aware of the Supervisor Fletcher's initiative to get these behavioral health workers. I'm hoping that these folks, properly trained and outfitted, can take the place of some of the police interventions that seem to go sideways because of walking in with a gun's not the same as walking in with some counseling advice. Is that part of the effort?
Definitely. And actually, one of the things that I will drop this in the chat right now, we actually created this thing called the Mobile Crisis Response Team. And I believe this was created back in 2019. This is a non-police crisis intervention for anyone who's experiencing a mental health, drug, or alcohol-related crisis. This could be anything from suicide to someone who's having hallucinations to someone who's overdosing, although overdosing you'd want to call 911, but like having different types of issues. And these folks are trained mental health professionals who go out in teams to address these issues. They can also help kind of identify if there's any threats, if that's more of a law enforcement thing, but they're able to kind of parse through these different cases. And so it helps kind of take some of the strain off law enforcement, but also provides an alternative to prevent some of these issues that we've been seeing with, as you mentioned, bad situations that are happening with law enforcement. So I'm going to drop the link to that in the chat.
Great. Thank you. Let's see, I have some more hands up. Brian.
I don't have a question per se. I would just like to basically congratulate or commend Supervisor Fletcher's office. I believe it's still true, but I read a number of months ago in the UT about the mobile crisis response units and how it has been pretty successful in its initial launch. I forget the stats off the top of my head, but I was pretty impressed with the rollout so far, and I just want to commend the supervisor on that initiative because I think it's a really good step forward, and it's an example of seeing something happen in the world and seeing an actionable thing happen in San Diego to fix it. And that was really good to see.
Thank you.
So press your applause button, please. Greg.
Yeah, just a follow-up of that. I agree with Brian. Just wondering, is there plans to expand the budget for that program? And I assume that's 100% county funds. That is out of the county general fund, or is it something that flows down from the feds or anything like that?
That is a very good question. Y'all are asking me really good questions tonight. Greg, follow up with me via email so I can find out. For you, I believe it is all county funds. I'm not sure if there's any plans to increase the budget. I know we've increased it since its launch. It started just as a pilot program, and now it's countywide, and we added a lot more teams than we had initially. My guess is yes, but actually we will also be starting our budget process soon. Ours is a little bit later than the city's, but we will. I'll definitely flag that is something that there are people who are interested in that and seeing that expansion. So just thank you for bringing that up, and I will get you the information on the breakdown of funds for that.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Abby. We're going to move on the agenda to reports and updates from the chair or community groups. There was no community planners committee meeting for December, so I have nothing to report related to that. Next up are the community groups. Do we have representatives from any of the community groups that wish to provide updates, questions, or concerns? I got a hand up from Greg.
Yeah, just the Normal Heights Community Association had a really great bike ride in December for reviewing the holiday. So thank you for all those who participated. And we are meeting to discuss like a Q1 mixer happy hour event and to continue those kind of happening on a quarterly basis. So should have updates at the next meeting, details on that.
I wasn't able to participate in the bike ride for Christmas looking at the holiday lights, but about 1,000 people rode by my house. You had a huge group. Noisy too, and
Yeah.
well lit.
No, thanks to Taylor guiding us well. It was a safe outing, but it was great to have, a really good number of turnout, which has increased every year. So thanks. Next time, Jim. We'll see you next year.
One thing nice about Normal Heights is it's flat. Any other community groups want to bring us any update? I'll do one for the Adams Avenue Business Association and the El Cajon Business Association. Gary Weber and I, and maybe others of you, participated in a little ceremony for the holiday lights that are strung over the freeway, Highway 805 and 15, actually 15. And I want to commend the business associations for funding that. And there was a question brought up that we may deal with at some point. With additional funding, it appears that we might help get lighting on some of the bridges that aren't currently lit with holiday lights. For instance, the pedestrian bridge, I think it's on Madison.
Monroe.
And I think and I'm not sure, is there a different one, another one, Gary?
It's on, the pedestrian bridge is on Monroe.
Yeah.
And Meade Avenue is also down there.
Well, at some point, I said that the planning group might be interested in helping subsidize the cost of additional lighting next year. So sometime during the year, be ready for a request to come up with some funding to subsidize that. I think it's in addition to the community. But anyway, got some hands up. Margaret, you get to go first.
Hi, we have just a few updates from Normal Heights for smart growth.
Great.
One of them was on the SDAs, which I think we brought to you last time. We were talking to you about the change from 1/2 mile as the crow flies to 1 mile walking for transit areas. And Gerald has an update on that. So I want to turn to Gerald and let Gerald talk about that for a moment.
Gerald, you're up.
All right, thanks, Maggie. Yeah, so they had the meeting before the close of the year. The land use planning commission met, and it appeared that the building associations that were represented in Circulate San Diego withdrew their opposition after they found out that there's actually going to be more land available for development under the SDA versus the TPA. It's a significant increase, actually. So it actually ended up passing 7-0 in the planning commission where they're at. From what we understand and talking to Liz, who's managing that for the planning department, there's opportunity for us to speak to it again. And Ben, just for your awareness, that this Normal Heights Community Planning Group has already voted in opposition and sent a letter to the city council and the mayor's office, opposing this increase in distance from 1/2 mile to 1 mile. Basically, I think it's kind of a cop out right now for the city doesn't want to increase public transit. They just want to make people walk farther. So, but the planning commission went ahead and passed it. The next stop right now is in front of the Land Use and Housing Committee, and that'll be next week at, I believe, at 1 p.m. There'll be an opportunity to speak in front of that group once the agenda is available, I guess, to be able to talk and meet. And then according to Liz over at the planning department, they're hoping to get the first opportunity to talk to the council in the last week of February, but the date has not been set right now. So there should be opportunities for us to go back and meet. If it passes, it won't go into effect until January of 2024. That's the current status of that right now.
Gerald, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask you to send your documentation to Ben, because I think it's really interesting. Gerald did a really nice job drawing up some information about what is kind of typical for transit distances around the country, around the world, and it was really, really useful. So,
I can do that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks.
And I don't think I have anything else in that regard.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were finished. So, okay, great. Thank you. Two more items. One is we talked to you, I think, last time about there being a new project going in at 2911 Adams Avenue. That's over the 805 just before Kansas. So technically it's University Heights. It's not Normal Heights, but still Normal Heights for Smart Growth was interested in following up on this and looking at the plans for this development. So what we know so far is that it's 72 units, it's 6 stories, 5 over 1 unit or 1 story of retail. It is, close to both the 11 and the number 2 on 30th Street. So it's well within a TPA is traditionally defined. So no problem there. We see this as really fitting in well with complete communities. However, there's very little information about what public amenities they might be providing. For example, widened sidewalks or public courtyards, or, they planting trees. What are the kinds of things they're doing to encourage pedestrian activity and make it pleasant in that area? So we are scheduling a meeting with their communications team for, I believe, next week to talk with them about that and to encourage pedestrian amenities. The third item is I have met with the CEO of Bike San Diego, and we had a very good, productive conversation about things that we can do to make Adams Avenue safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. Normal Heights for Smart Growth will be meeting to discuss this in more detail, and we'll be meeting with Bike San Diego, and we'll bring that back to you once we've had a chance to gather some more information.
Great, thank you, Margaret. You guys have been busy. That's a good thing. Any other community groups updates? Hearing none. We're moving to standing committees, working groups. I noticed Dan's not here with the historical group. We don't have a regular representative for Parks and Trails Development, but we're certainly looking forward to finding out what Park and Rec's going to do with the $5 million they have for Ward Canyon Park. Hopefully get rid of that building on Adams Avenue and get some more playground equipment in. Anything else about utility undergrounding or the traffic task force? Hearing none.
I can chime in just very briefly for utility undergrounding. Francis and I met briefly in December just to she caught me up on kind of the efforts to date, and we're going to be scheduling a meeting just with everyone who's kind of historically been involved. I know it's been a long and tumultuous process, so we're going to be meeting sometime in January to just kind of figure out exactly where we are, what steps have already been taken, and I'm hoping by the February meeting we'll be able to kind of provide a current status update and some next steps to actually get the working group and the maintenance assessment district, the MAD, going.
Great. Be sure and include me. And just a sentence or two upgrade for Ben. As to the utility undergrounding, in the phase that's available or next up in north section of Normal Heights, we achieved some promise that there could be the availability of additional street lighting, and that when the undergrounding lines are laid, that there may be opportunities for at least wiring connections for potential new street lights. and different streetlights, but we understand that the funding for that would require establishing a MAD, a Maintenance Assessment District, and that's what Emily has taken somewhat on her shoulders to try to coordinate and find out what our next steps are. We're very interested. Did I say that right, Emily?
Yes, yeah, and it's just figuring out because things got started and stopped and started and stopped. So we'll piece it all back together.
Yep. Good luck dealing with SDG&E. Okay, unless there are other items to cover, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn along with wishes for a successful 2023 for all of us in our group. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
That's Brian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Good. Otherwise,
Have
we'd
a
be
healthy
here
and
all
prosperous
night.
new year.
Oh, yes. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. Look forward to participating with you over the next month. Visit the website, get out in the neighborhood, enjoy the area. Thank you all and good night.
Good night.
Vicky, I can see you.
I meant
still
to
have
unmute
your-
myself and accidentally put the video on, but I've been keeping it off because I'm sitting here typing feverishly. So
Yeah. You know what I told my wife I was going to do today is offer your chairs for sale on the website.
I keep forgetting about the chairs. If anybody
Not,
wants them, they can take them. Where's Taylor? He already got off the meeting.
I'll put them on Craigslist or something.
Well, I apologize. If they go missing, that's fine. We will get them at some point.
Just gives me an opportunity to give you trouble. No problem.
All right.
Good night.
See you later.